Greetings, heroes and adventurers. This is the Ancient Gamer, and this morning we're going to play a little Fallout 4. We're going to talk about a few mods, or a mod that I've seen on Bethesda.net that caught my eye, as well as ENBs for the PC and how that relates to the mod that I spotted. As far as the game goes today, the game that you will see, I'm only running one graphical mod, and that would be 4K 60 FPS Ultra Plus settings for Series X. I will put a link in the description below. It's a really small mod that basically just allows the game to run uncapped at a frame rate of 60 frames per second, as well as applying the ultra settings that are available on PC to the console version. It makes the game look really fantastic without eating up a lot of your reserve space. But the mod that I found that caught my eye, and it may have caught your eye too, is called Intensity ENB-like Graphic Enhancements without the hassle. And of course, I use ENBs on computer, on my PC build, and I can tell you that the ENB profile that you use, and using an ENB is the single biggest, most impactful graphics mod that you can add to your game to really change the way it looks and just give it that sort of wow factor when you turn it on. And the ENB is really spectacular, and they almost always just really change your game in a positive way. ENBs themselves, what an ENB is this that stands for Enhanced Natural Beauty. In the ENB is a set of binaries that was created by Boris Vorontsov. The ENB all by itself does nothing. It's the ENB profile that you select, and there's hundreds of them on the Nexus for Fallout 4 or for Skyrim. The ENB profile that you select it based on what you want it to do. Some are more cinematic, some are less noticeable, some are more subtle, some really, kick out the color. Some make it look brighter, some make it look darker. There's just an ENB profile for everybody. But essentially what an ENB does is you download the ENB binaries, and then you select a profile to custom tune what the ENB does to your game. Something like this has never been available on console before, and the mod that I'm looking at, Intensity ENB-like Graphical Enhancements without the hassle, claims to add an effect that's very similar to an ENB. Whether it does or not, we'll find out. I'm going to load the mod up and play with it a little bit and see what it does, and then I will be able to show you some direct comparisons and let you know exactly how well it either does or does not work. Okay, I'm back, and I have downloaded and enabled Intensity ENB-like Graphical Enhancements without the hassle. I've spent about 90 minutes, maybe an hour, I guess, 90 minutes, tweaking the game and messing with the mod menu, which I will get into later, trying to make it look as good and as much like an actual ENB as possible. And the results I got are a little, well, they're not really mixed. They aren't all that great. This is Intensity ENB. And first thing you'll notice is look at the dog. Look at dog meat. He's blurry, okay? There is not really a true depth of field here. The colors are a little more saturated, but there's not really a true depth of field here. There's just like a radial blur that's always on the screen. And it's actually fairly discomforting, and I would imagine could even induce nausea. I know in me, I got almost dizzy playing it like this. And this is like the best I could dial it in. See, even when you hone in on this lamppost here, you're not getting that depth of field effect, or the mailbox. You're not getting that depth of field effect like you would with an actual ENB. You're just getting the radial blur where everything on the edges of the screen, blur out. And that's just not the same thing. Here's an ENB, and as you zoom in on the post there, you see that everything in the background just sort of like delicately, same thing here, just sort of delicately gets a depth of field effect. That's one of the really cool effects that an ENB does, and this mod just does not do that. Here's the same scene as the original scene with Intensity. This is on the PC with an ENB, and as you can see, dog meat's not blurred out. There's no radial blur at all. That's because it's got a true bokeh depth of field. Now here's the game on the Series X, just normal, without Intensity. And as you can see, when you switch to Intensity, the colors can be more saturated, that's because you can adjust the color saturation. They definitely are a little brighter and a little more saturated. However, with an ENB, their colors aren't just saturated, they're actually calibrated. And if you take a look here, you can see how realistic and just how how good the colors look in this mod. That's because they are brighter, they are more intense, but they're also calibrated. Look at that chem station. It looks really great and really realistic. That's because of the ENB. Now here, this is running on the Series X without intensity. Looks fantastic. Looks great. No radial blur. Okay, now here's intensity. And as you can see, the colors are just more saturated. They're just brightened. But definitely dog meets blurry. It's just got that constant radial blur. This is the ENB on the PC. Once again, the colors aren't just saturated, they're calibrated. They look exactly how they're supposed to. They're corrected. Okay, this is the PC with the ENB turned off, just to let you know what a big difference an ENB makes. If you are a PC gamer and you like to mod your games, as I said, the ENB is the one mod that you can install that will make the biggest single impact difference in the way your game looks. Here it is without the ENB enabled, and then here it is with the ENB enabled. And it's just, the difference is just, it's stark. It's night and day. And then this would just be the Series X without intensity. And after a bit here, once we get up around the corner and you see the sign there, looks fine. The colors look correct, at least, if not as bright and saturated. Now here we have intensity back on. And the colors, when you see the sign up here, you'll be able to see they are definitely, saturated. There's more of a color saturation, definitely a little bit brighter, a little more pop. Okay, now we're going to go to one of the true tests, which will be Diamond City at night, and that red apron on the noodle stand. See, this looks good. This is without intensity. Everything looks, as it should be. The colors are correct. They're balanced. They're calibrated, although not as well as with the ENB. Okay. Now here you'll see when we switch over to having intensity, ENB-like graphical enhancements without the hassle loaded up, the colors are brighter. They definitely, the saturation levels, like if you turned up the color setting on your 4K TV, this is the kind of effect that you would see. Everything just looks brighter and more colorated and more colorful, and yet on the other hand, maybe it doesn't look better or as realistic. Okay, so again, for comparison, we have Diamond City at night on the PC with an ENB, and as you can see, these colors are calibrated, they're balanced, and everything, even including like this trash bin here, it just looks so realistic because the colors aren't just turned up, they're not just saturated, they're corrected, they're balanced, they're calibrated, and just the realism that the ENB adds is amazing. And so I think you can see that this intensity ENB-like graphical enhancements without the hassle does absolutely in no way delivers an ENB-like experience at all. It just allows you to tweak the contrast, the color saturation level, choose a few options on the depth of field, none of which look very good. Trust me, I'm using the one that looks the best right now. I've tinkered with all of these and tried all the settings, and what you're seeing on the screen now is the absolute best that I can make it look. And frankly, that's just not very good. Okay, so as far as the mod menu goes and how you control intensity and try to alter the settings, the way it works is you get a holotape that you put into your Pip-Boy, and it has different settings that you can adjust, including the radial blur, or extreme depth of field, things like that, color saturation levels, contrast. These are all things that you can tweak, but it's kind of confusing and it's not really easy to use necessarily. And then to make matters worse, it doesn't, when you change settings, it doesn't forget the settings that you've added. So in order to really alter your settings, you have to reset to default and start completely over. And frankly, it's just a POA, a pain in the ass, and it was not what I would call easy to use. About the only good thing that this mod delivers are Some of the templates can act as filters. So let's say you were going to make a video that you wanted a certain effect for, or take a screenshot and have a certain effect, that you might find something like this useful, this green hue. This is called War Movie. There's also black and white, and the black and white setting is kind of nice. It's a little bit overly saturated with light, but at least it's there. And I mean, I could see somebody maybe finding use for this, but there has to be another simpler mod that just does this, that you don't need to dive into this confusing menu for. ENBs are an amazing modding tool for PC gamers that really expand and enhance the post-processing tool set for PC games, and can really help to deliver an almost photorealistic look to a game. They're real game changers. They deliver not just saturated colors, but corrected, calibrated colors, a true bokeh depth of field that just can really offer a lovely viewing experience to the PC gamer. So far, nothing like that has been created for console. I don't know if ENBs can ever come to consoles, but certainly Intensity ENB-like Graphical Enhancements without the hassle is not an ENB-like mod at all. And I really hesitate to. I don't like to criticize mod authors necessarily, and I don't like to give poor reviews, because these mods are labors of love for people like Sorrywerefull, and I'm sure that the mod author really tried to deliver here, and I could definitely see what they were up to and what they were aiming for. They just don't quite pull it off. Ultimately, I have to give Intensity ENB-like Graphical Enhancements without the hassle a thumbs down. It should be called Intensity non-ENB-like Graphical Enhancements with a huge hassle. So I'm Sorrywerefull, but if my recommendation is that if you happen to be cruising Bethesda.net looking for mods to download and this one catches your eye, just keep on looking for another mod. I am the Ancient Gamer, and if you've enjoyed this video, please take the time to click the like button. It really helps. And of course, if you're looking for more of a long-term commitment, feel free to subscribe to my channel. If you ring the bell, you'll never miss any of my content, as you'll get instant notifications whenever I drop a new video. I'll be back soon with more fresh content. I try to release new videos every Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. In the meantime, remember, it's all about the games we love and the games we love to play. It's all about the games.